Thank you very much for joining us today. We're excited to have you here for our session, Developer Tricks, How to Acquire New Customers Without Third-Party Cookies. My name is Rudy Schumbert. I've been with Adobe a little over 10 years. I've spent almost all of my career on the data collection, data governance side of the business. And more recently, I've added to the focus of being able to work with customers who are using our real-time CDP platform and trying to get the most out of that.
And hey, my name is Susan Bertries. I've actually been with Adobe for 15 years, most of it also in the data area, but recently I moved over to be an enterprise architect where I help customers like you connect the pieces between the different Adobe systems as well as the Adobe systems to your own company stacks. How is everybody doing today? Great. It's Wednesday. We got Bash tonight. Did everybody have a good lunch? I actually was at an insurance roundtable, so I didn't get a chance to have lunch. Did everybody have a good lunch today? Yes? Ooh, everybody's awake. So exciting. But you know what, Rudy? I had a little bit of lunch today, but I'm actually feeling a little bit snacky.
Yeah?
Should we actually talk about cookies?
I love cookies. Chocolate chip cookies, peanut butter chips, those are the best.
Yeah, I personally love a great cookie. I personally like chocolate chip cookies, but really, if anything has sugar, I will eat it. But we're actually not going to talk about these cookies. We have a different kind of cookie problem here in Vegas, and it's not all of the different stores with all the different sugars and cookies and everything everywhere. We actually want to talk about these cookies. So these are the cookies that power websites. They're the ones that live on your computer. These are the ones that store information in your web browser about either preferences on the website, they provide information to the website itself to make the website work, or they contain information about the person using the website. There's two types of cookies that we're going to talk a little bit about today. We have our first-party cookies. So these are set in the context of the website you're visiting. So if I am on Adobe.com, Adobe.com is setting the cookie. It lives on Adobe.com, and different scripts and code on the website can read that cookie. This is a first-party cookie. These are good cookies. They all store the same information, website preferences, et cetera, et cetera. But we also have third-party cookies. Third-party cookies are set in a third-party context, which means you might be looking at Adobe.com, but the cookie is actually set through a script that's from another website, such as Omniture.com. And for everybody in the room who knows that domain name, didn't think you'd hear that today. That would be a third-party cookie. So if you're on Adobe.com and you have an Omniture.com cookie, that's considered a third-party cookie. These cookies are usually used for generally online advertising purposes, tracking users across domains. And man, they were great, in the heady days when I first started at Omniture because third-party cookies were a thing. But unfortunately, with third-party cookies, these are going away.
What?
I know. I can't believe it. It has been quite a long time. How many people in the room knew that third-party cookies are going away soon? Did anybody not know this? I would hope if you didn't know. Ooh, we have one person, one very brave person. Thank you for raising your hand. I would hope that if you're in this session, you did know that third-party cookies are going away. It really just comes down to the different browsers, so Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari, they're all moving toward an emphasis on privacy and security, and they see third-party cookies as potentially being a less secure experience than what they want to give to their end users. So how did we get here?
So a lot of what we have to react to in the marketing world is what the browsers force upon us. So we're always in kind of a constant state of reacting. And it's no different with cookie deprecation. So here's a brief timeline of kind of the events that have taken place. So back in January 2020, pre-pandemic.
Oh, so long ago.
It was very,
very long ago.
Very long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff still had hair.
Yeah.
Back in pre-2020. So, but no, the browsers announced that they were going to start disabling, decommissioning, destroying, deleting, whatever they want to call it. The cookies weren't going away. The beginning of the cookie apocalypse was upon us. Lots of fear and uncertainty and doubt being thrown around out there. And pretty soon after, Safari got on board and already started, no more third-party cookies. You're probably already seeing some effect of that on the websites.
Yeah, if you're an Adobe Analytics user, your unique visits and visitors are probably going up. You're seeing a lot of traffic that's coming through your direct channel. So this is already impacting your data right now. So we want to make sure that you're extra ready when the extra stuff happens at the end of this year.
And Google has given everybody, a stay of execution of cookies several times. They've pushed the deadline back a little bit, but they started in January of this year disabling 1% of the cookies, the third-party cookies, or cookies for 1% of the users. And allegedly, probably, almost assuredly, they say by Q3 of this year, 100% of the users in Chrome will have third-party cookies disabled.
Like they are absolutely, for sure, serious this time, for really real.
Probably.
Probably, as far as we know. These goalposts are constantly shifting, so we're here today to talk through some strategies. So how many people feel like they are ready for the death of third-party cookies? Raise your hand. Oh my God, none of them. I thought we'd at least get a,
Sam's ready.
We have one. Okay, so two people out of maybe 200. So, oh boy. So let's talk through some strategies. Don't worry, we have you here. Let's talk through some strategies. We're going to go through two specific ones to get yourself ready for when third-party cookies going away at the end of this year. We want to make sure that you have a proactive data strategy to augment and replace your your customer acquisition strategy for the death of third-party cookies. So what does this actually mean in the context of your marketing stack? So these third-party cookies, the ones that can track users across domains, usually they serve as either a device identifier or a prospect identifier, and they can store data about that device or prospect across different times that the user comes to your website. However, if these third-party cookies are going away, we don't have a way of identifying those prospects or non-customers who come to your website anymore. Any of your marketing workflows that depend on having a cross-visit or persistent prospect profile, we got a lot of different words here going on, you need to rework some of those marketing workflows. So for the rest of our session, we're going to give you some strategies to help you retool your customer acquisition stack to remove that dependence on third-party cookies. We will still have a great infrastructure that does use cookies in the future, but they will primarily be first-party cookies. As far as we know, as far as the browsers have told us, those aren't going anywhere anytime soon, though we'll call out a couple changes that have happened. Cookies still have a role in your Adobe marketing acquisition programs. We still have software that depends on them, but we just want to make sure that those prospect workflows that depend on those third-party cookies, you kind of rework them to make them more effective going forward.
So let's look at what the industry as a whole, not just Adobe, the industry as a whole has been doing to try and help with the issue of the cookies going away. And so the first thing is there's been a real focus on durable identities. These are things that are tied to individuals that are, like the name implies, durable. They could be phone numbers, email addresses. If it's a customer that you already have, you have a permanent customer ID that doesn't change over the lifetime of that customer, something that is not dependent on whatever rules the browsers tell us we have to work with this year, next year, beyond. They're durable.
Mm-hmm. These are probably IDs that you're already using, and it's usually something like an email address or a hashed email address or a customer ID, and they are generally the same across different devices. If you're already using Adobe Analytics, you usually capture a customer ID in an EVAR. It's the same idea here. That's a durable identifier, and those are great. Those are fantastic. Keep using those.
The next is chips. So they have figured out a way to be able to take cookies and put them in a kind of a virtual cookie jar. So it allows a site to share a very limited number of cookies across a couple domains. So it's, you can find out more information on this. There's lots of research out there on it available. But this is just something else that's out there in the industry that you need to be aware of, because if the use cases we go through today don't solve your problem, this might be something you can investigate further to see if this might help you out. Mm-hmm.
The only issue is that it's a limit of 4 top-level domains per cookie jar. So if you have a lot of different, brand names or subdomain, or no, subdomains would work, but different brands on the website, you're limited to 4 per cookie jar, and that domain can only live in 1 cookie jar. So just keep that in mind as you think through using chips on your website.
Or a fun size.
Yeah, it's a fun size cookie jar. There you go.
All right. The other thing is first-party cookies. They're not going away. First-party cookies that you set on your own domain, still valid, still usable, lots of use cases for having those. So keep in mind that even though third-party cookies are going away, it doesn't mean every single cookie that you use everywhere is gone. You still need to have a solid first-party cookie strategy and a plan for using those.
Exactly. Yeah, people say cookie apocalypse. It's not all cookies. It's just third-party cookies.
It's the macadamia nuts.
Oh, no, macadamia nuts need to stick around. They're delicious.
All right. Sorry, and then third-party identities. Not third-party cookies, but third-party identities. There are other vendors, data vendors out there that have all sorts of data that you might already be working with. You know, there's probably a couple dozen in the community
Pavilion.
Thank you. I was drawing a blank all of a sudden. But those are companies you can work with to get access to other third-party data, and we're going to talk further about that on how to load it into Adobe's real-time CDP later in this session.
Yeah, so the two of them that we're going to focus on for today are going to be a little bit on first-party cookies, and then we're going to do some demos on third-party identities, third-party data providers, and all of that fun stuff to enhance your prospecting workflows. So first, let's do a few details on first-party cookies. How many of you are familiar with the Experience Cloud Visitor ID? ECID? Cool. My analytics friends going, wait. I did analytics consulting for 9 years, so it's close to my heart. Analytics consulting might know this as MID, because that's a query string parameter that you'd see in the analytics server call. So before cookies are getting nuked from orbit, whatever you want to call it, when you collected data on your website using the Adobe code, either visitorapi.js is kind of the older vintage version of data collection, or with our newer version, which we call Web SDK, the way that you would get an Experience Cloud Visitor ID to tie all your data together in the Adobe ecosystem is we would have AAM UUID, and that's just the name of the identifier, plus what we call an IMS org ID, which is your Adobe tenant ID, a long, ugly number that ends in @Adobe org. You would send those together on your server call to our data collection servers. Our data collection servers would look at that, and they'd say, oh, here's your ECID. Send it back to the browser. Everything's great. However, with Cookie Apocalypse and the current state of things is that AAM UUID is technically one of those problematic third-party cookies. So if we can't set this third-party cookie that's needed to get this ECID, therefore, we're going to have a problem making sure that ECID is the same, across visits for a longer duration. ECID today is set as a first-party cookie, so you do not have to worry about that. There's other things you need to worry about, but ECID is a first-party cookie today, provided you're running the latest code versions. However, since it's a client-side first-party cookie, the industry has still, flagged those as a little bit suspicious, and it's only going to have a 7-day expiration, which back in the heady days when I first started at Omniture, it was like a 5-year expiration. So 7 days is a little bit problematic.
But even with that short window, this should be considered kind of your first-level defense against the cookie apocalypse. So even with that shortened window, this is still a strategy that you need to look at and take advantage of, especially in certain circumstances. So don't abandon this altogether.
Yep. And so with Web SDK, if you're not on Web SDK, I'd highly recommend you look into it. I'm happy to answer questions about that afterwards. We have a new feature that's called first-party device IDs. So what this means is you, the website owner, your technology sets a first-party UUID. You control that initial seed value, which you then send in with IMS org ID, so that same ID again, which will then send that over to our data collection servers, and we will mint you an ECID. So the interesting thing here is that first-party UUID value that you on your website are controlling, it's set as a first-party server-side cookie, which means you control the expiration. The browser industry, our friends at Chrome and Edge and Microsoft and whatever, they say server-side first-party cookies are safe, A-OK, we are not going to block them or reduce their duration. This cookie is going to sit around for a while. Our ECID is still set as a client-side first-party cookie, which means it's still going to have a 7-day expiration. But if the user comes back to the website after 7 days and that cookie is gone, your first-party UUID in that server-side cookie is still there. We send that with IMS org ID again, and we get the same ECID again. That allows you to build persistent profiles on people who are coming to your website that aren't necessarily logged in. Like we said before a second ago, that if you have a lot of users that are using Safari on your website, you're probably already seeing problems in your data where you have a lot of unknown users coming to your website, maybe one visit, 7 days apart. This is a way to address that. You have your website set that first party UUID, and we get the same ID, ECID, every time they come back to the website in the future. You should consider this website first-party device IDs as like your first-level defense for the cookie apocalypse. So I'd encourage you guys to go back to your desks after Summit or on the plane home tomorrow. Look up first-party device IDs. We'll give you a QR code at the end of our presentation. Go back and start the process of implementing this. This is generally available now, so this is something you can take advantage of right now.
All right, and so now what we're going to focus on are those third-party identifiers, the partner data. What's available for you in the partner data?
So for partner data, there's 2 different sides of the coin. So I know that the title of this presentation was about prospecting, but partner data also brings in some customer possibilities. So let's start with the prospecting side. So prospecting means these people aren't your customers yet. We need to target them in new and different ways. So we are going to bring in and expand the reach of our marketing efforts. We can bring in lists from those partners that you've contracted with of additional prospects that you want to go out and reach. These lists usually have some sort of proprietary partner ID attached to them, and then you can bring in additional information about those users. There's a couple different ways to get those lists or other information into Adobe Experience Platform, which we'll talk about in just a second. But this can lay the foundation of your prospecting program in the future. On the flip side of this, for your customers, you can enrich your existing data set. So Rudy talked about those persistent durable IDs, which are the same customer IDs every time they come to the website. Adobe Experience Platform builds those customer IDs into a persistent profile. It's the same ID every time they come to your website, so that profile is the same every time. With partner data, you can augment your existing data with this information that the partners have. So maybe if we're a baker, maybe it's information about what bakery this person was just last at, or what their last purchase was, or if they prefer coffee creamer in their coffee. I believe that's one of the attributes I've seen in our data. It can be tied to PII or not PII. It really just depends on how your contract with that partner is structured. So think of this as 2 sides of the same coin. You are enriching your data for your existing customers, but expanding your reach for your pool of prospects you can market to.
Yeah, and this is an important concept, and you'll get a copy of this slide at the end when you get the QR code, but this is where we want you to start thinking differently about, you're not just replacing cookies, you're changing how you're going to acquire customers. That's what cookies did for you. They helped you acquire customers, and they helped you provide bits of data about the customers. They're going away. We can't exactly replace that, but we can find different ways to help you find new customers. And so this is the first way to start thinking about that problem a little bit differently.
Yep. So let's talk about how we treat this data that's coming into the system. So just a second ago, I was talking about server calls and sending data into data collection servers. We talked about ECID, so that's the primary identity that the Adobe stack uses to tie data together. But when you're running code on your website, yes, you have your tag manager, it's running the JavaScript. You're going to have another snippet that makes an API call out to that partner to get information back on that person who is visiting the website at this point in time. Usually the partners in this scenario will return just a partner ID. This person is this ID in our partner ecosystem. We're going to take that partner ID, bundle it up with your Adobe data collection, and throw it into Adobe Experience Platform. Once it gets into AEP, your ECID will go into AEP's customer identity graph or primary identity graph to create a prospect profile for them. But the partner identity is walled off into a partner graph. And this is because that partner ID, while we're not saying that there's any problems with our partners, they're all great, we love them, it's not 100% that the partner ID is who this person actually is. So we don't want to accidentally merge 2 profiles together. So we wall that partner information off until its own little subset of partner data until that person comes to the website, authenticates as a customer, and then we can join the partner data up with their customer profile.
And this is a super important thing to distinguish, because when you start looking at partner data, you have to create a new identity namespace inside of Platform. And we're going to show you how to do that. But it's important, I mean, they're completely separate. So when that partner data is brought in, it is not going to affect or impact or dilute or mess up or destroy your regular identity graph. Those are completely separate. So while this may seem like a very simple thing, it's a critical first step that a lot of folks have missed. And it's something that will come back and pester you if you don't first understand this basic concept of keeping them separate.
Yep, until you for sure know that this partner ID is this customer ID, and then they get joined together.
Absolutely.
The second way that you can get partner data into the Adobe ecosystem is direct from the partner. So this partner can take information, either a customer ID, but generally it's a partner ID. You bring that into Adobe Experience Platform. Again, the partner ID updates the partner identity graph. And then you can also append additional data about that particular person or device or however your contract with your partner works. That goes into your partner profile. So this is saying this prospect XYZ has this information we know about them. That will sit in Adobe Experience Platform until either it's joined together with a customer ID that makes a complete customer profile, or you can use it for your marketing efforts, such as your display ad retargeting or your email messaging, depending on that partnership with the partner and the data they're providing.
Yep. So now we're going to look how it all comes together. So on the left side, we've got data collection, data ingestion. The data out there, whether it's streaming data from your websites and mobile apps, or whether it's batch data that you're importing from your own CRM system, or partner data that you're inloading, it's all got to be ingested into platform. Using the different identities that we just talked about, you set that up separately so that Adobe Experience Platform knows how to store the data and how it's going to be separated out. But then you can leverage all the features inside of Platform and Real-Time CDP that you already know and love, or if you don't know and love, hopefully you'll learn to love them soon, not being able to explore profiles, build out audiences, and then activate those audiences out to other destinations like email marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads, et cetera.
All without using those third-party cookie values that you're probably dependent on today.
Right, yeah, no third-party cookies were involved in this slide. So.
And even underneath it all, from data collection to activation, you have the Adobe Experience Platform capabilities underneath it, such as great data governance. You have AI and machine learning. We have an open ecosystem of connectors with other providers, as well as that persistent real-time customer profile that can activate in different channels.
And not only is the system of connectors open, but the CDP we have is an open architecture as well. We do not care what partner data vendor you work with. It doesn't matter. If you've got one you've been using for a long time, that's super awesome. Continue to use them. And if you want to try somebody else out, you can do that too. It's just a different partner identity. If you've got 3 different data partners you're working with, you'll have 3 different partner IDs, one for each vendor that you set up. So again, it's a different way of thinking about it. But being able to bring in any kind of data and use a common set of tools inside of Platform and CDP is what's really critical here. And as important, we're talking about partner data here, but we still want to stress the importance of having a really good first-party data strategy. Just because we're going to bring in some awesome data here in a second from partners and show you how to create audiences on that and activate those out, it's still your responsibility to make sure your company is doing the basics, the fundamentals very well too. You still have to capture that first-party data and make sure you have that. Partner data is there to augment, to supplement. It doesn't replace your first-party data strategy.
Think of your third-party data and your partner data as being the dessert to your fabulous first-party cookie or first-party data main course, the icing on the cake.
I like that. All right, so now, we're in Vegas, so we're going to talk about table stakes. The basic steps it's going to take, we're going to set up and configure to be able to leverage partner data in Adobe Experience Platform.
But what would an Adobe presentation at Summit 2024 be without a, ChatGPT joke? So when we were writing this presentation, I just had to share this because it was so awesome. I asked ChatGPT to write me a joke here, and it said, table stakes, more like cookie stakes, because in this game, you have to bring your sweetest treats to the table. Thank you, ChatGPT. Just had to share that.
That's right. All right, so we'll talk about the cookie stakes. So 4 really important steps for being able to set up partner data. These are things that I'm going to show you how to do inside of the interface. We have to create that partner identity. That is step one. Then we have to configure an XDM schema. Who here knows what an XDM schema is? Or am I speaking a different language?
More people
Most
than are ready
people.
for third-party data.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, XDM is Experience Data Model. It's a mechanism inside of Adobe Experience Platform that allows you to teach Adobe the type of data that you're sending to us. It's really nothing more than a fancy set of name-value pairs, and you're telling us exactly what you're sending and what kind of data it is. So XDM allows you to create a reusable data object, and we've got some brand new classes, field groups inside of that schema specific to partner data. Then there's data usage labels that are automatically added. So for consent, making sure if you're bringing in potentially private or PII data, there are ways to automate, this is automatically labeled as third-party data when it's brought in, to make sure that wherever you're sending out audiences, that whatever policies that your company has put into place with our data access control that's built right into platform is honored. So you don't have anybody on the team who may not be as involved with assigning governance at the field level. They won't inadvertently use data fields they're not supposed to. And the last one, this is one that even caught me as I was getting ready for Summit, is you have to refresh that partner data. It expires every 25 days. That information from the vendors can get stale, and so they're constantly giving you brand new customer lists. But after 25 days, all the prospect data just drops. I was getting ready for this session. All of a sudden, my demo didn't work. All the partner data had gone poof, and I panicked a little bit. And I remembered I just had to go back in and refresh it. So,
yeah, you want your dessert to be as fresh as possible.
Absolutely, no stale dessert.
So Rudy, what does this look like in Adobe Experience Platform?
Well, let's see it in action. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is look at where we're going to set up the identities. I am logged into the Adobe Experience Platform. If you logged in and it doesn't look like this when you first go, you'll go over here to the little 3x3 grid, select Experience Platform, and it should drop you into the platform homepage. Underneath Customer is where the Identities section is maintained. And you can see when we go in here, these are the identities that are already created, and I do already have a partner ID. And here's a good example of other IDs you might have in place just for your own first-party data. And so when you set an identity, you're saying this is the field that we are saying is unique that we're able to tie customers to. So even though they may have 100 records of my interaction looking at different cookies, because it's tied to my email address, they're able to compress all that down and tie it to me. So that's that identity field. If you don't already have a partner ID, you just go over here to create identity namespace, give it a name and a symbol, and you'll scroll down here at the bottom, select partner ID, create, and it's that simple. You have to do this step first, because when we go to create a XDM schema, you want to be able to assign that identity as the primary identity field, and it's got to be here first before you can do that. So make sure you go in and create that identity. Then we'll go all the way down to the bottom here under Data Management and take a look at the schemas. One of the first things I want to point out here is under Classes, there is now a brand new Prospect Profile class. And if we take a look at what that class looks like, this is a predefined set of fields that is there already built for you for partner data to be loaded in addition to whatever attributes the partner data is going to bring in. But this is where we're going to assign that partner ID. So if we go back just a screen here and go to Browse.
These are the XDM schemas that Rudy was talking about a few minutes ago.
Yes, I should have said that. All right, so we'll go into our prospecting one here. And this here is already leveraging that class. And so when you're in the schema viewer, if you click on these items on the left side, the pane in the middle will highlight what is part of what you're selecting. So if as you work with schemas, it'll get much bigger and seem like it's harder to manage, but don't forget you can come over here and select things on the left side, and it'll help highlight what you're working with. We're going to be mostly looking at data in a financial services company today. And so these are the objects that we already have pre-built that you can leverage. We have a lot of schemas already defined from partners, so to try and minimize this work for you. And then if we go down here and say, well, what identities did we select? right here is the partner ID. And if I scroll down here, you will see that this is indeed set as an identity, a primary identity, and there's that partner ID step to set up. So,
and this would be the one that would be coming in either on the server call from your website, or you would upload it directly to Adobe Experience Platform with all the attributes.
Yep, absolutely. So now let's take a look at the labels that are automatically added. So when you're in the schema view, next structure provides that nice visual structure of that data object. Labels will show you all the labels that have been assigned. And you can see when I use that prospect class, these third-party labels are automatically added. This should provide you a warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing that when I bring in partner data, we're helping you by labeling it this way, that it's third-party data, so that as you have policies and stuff that you set up inside of the privacy section, all of the other reports and audience activations will adhere to whatever policy you set up. So it should provide you a nice comfort feeling with that.
You don't have to have any marketer oopsies where they're sending the wrong data to the wrong end destination. You don't have to worry about that anymore with your data labels.
Right. And then the other one was refresh the data. Every 25 days, partner data needs to be refreshed. All right. And so now let's do a couple demos.
Absolutely. So our first demo is that prospecting use case where we are going to expand the reach of the number of prospects or people that we want to attract to our website for some of that upper level conversion funnel information.
Yeah, and this is a core use case of you're getting that customer mail, like a mailing list from your partner, and you want to be able to market to them just like you would any set of known groups. So this is a prime use case. And I have a lovely architecture.
I love a good architecture diagram, so let's walk through it.
All right. So these are the basic steps for this use case. You have to make sure you have to contract, hire, license with a partner data vendor to be able to have them send you partner data. So whether one of the partner data vendors that's out there in the community pavilion, this is not something we can do for you. This is something your company would go out and secure on your own. They will build a prospect list based on the requirements you give them. Number of attributes, how many rows, frequency they're going to give it to you, all that's something for you to hammer out with them. You're going to configure that AEP data model to ingest the prospect list. That's that partner ID and the XDM schema we just spoke about. When we say AEP data model, that's what they're talking about. And then we're going to load that prospect list into the profile. It could be uploading a flat file. It could be setting up an API or a connector to automatically pull that in. If you're not sure how to do that, when you're on the home page of Experience Platform, there's great tutorials right there that says, bring data into platform. Watch those videos. Really easy, straightforward process. And then we're going to build audiences from the prospect list, and then we can activate those audiences out to any destination. When we say activate an audience, we're going to take that audience that we built, and we're going to send it to Google Ads, we're going to send it to Facebook, we're going to send them emails, we might do some text messaging. It just depends on what type of connector we're working with.
Yeah, so Rudy, I kind of want to see another demo. Can you show me this in action?
I can show you another demo.
Great.
So the first thing we're going to do is let's take a peek first at this. We're going to take another look at this schema. And we are using our WeBank prospect profile here. And let's select the FSI, Financial Services. And the types of data that we can bring in here, these are the different attributes that we contracted with. So we can bring in, what their credit tier is, geography type, are they a homeowner, are they looking for life insurance, do they use a personal investment?
What their favorite dessert is, maybe?
Favorite dessert, it's not on this list, but
we'll get that later, yeah.
Next time. Mm-hmm. But gives you a quick view of the attributes. If you need to add one, really simple, just go here, hit this little plus symbol, add it in, it adds in the profile. There are some built-in safeguards. It won't let you introduce breaking changes. You can create a brand new schema, but once you create a schema and you're using it, the system will prevent you from deleting objects that would cause future imports to fail. So we've got some bumpers on the edge here to help you avoid some of those common mistakes. So just keep that in mind. So after we do that, we're going to load the data. The data's been loaded in. I'm not going to walk through the process of dragging a CSV into a thing and hit upload. So that's been done. But now we're going to take a look underneath prospect. So just like there's a customer section, there is now a prospect section. These are the prospect profiles that have been uploaded. And if we, there we go, view this prospect, we can see that this individual, well, we don't know their name. We know what age group they're in. We know whether they're a bargain shopper. So all those attributes that we had contracted with, they're right here. And then now that we know that we've got this prospect data, we can build out an audience. And so this used to be called segments, build out segments. So if it's been a while since you've been in CDP, you're like, hey, where'd the segments go? They're still here. We just call them something different. So we're building an audience. And we go to create audience. And right here, under prospect profile, I like this search feature here. So I can just type in FSI. I know there was a bunch of attributes in there. It'll automatically show me the ones I'm looking for. And so I'm like, I want to know if the individuals for this campaign that I'm running are not using a personal investor. And I want to know if they've recently gotten a mortgage. If you're not used to building audiences, this little refresh estimate should become your new best friend. This allows you to run a quick check to say, hey, is this audience I'm interested in, is there actually anybody that meets this criteria? Before you publish it and wait for everything to run, a little sanity check. This looks good, so we can give it a name, and it was like demo audience. Right here, and we're going to save and close. And then I'm going to go back to the audiences. Like any good cooking show, even though we're not a cooking show, it does sometimes take a while for all the profiles to register in a new audience. I created the same one yesterday. So all of those profiles are now here. So if I go into this here, it shows me exactly what my qualified audience size is. And now I can activate it out to a destination of choice. I already have one set up for prospects that's matched. We're going to send it off to Amazon S3, which we're leveraging to send out some emails. And we'll go into the screen. I want to call out here, every now and then when you come to the screen, there's nothing on it for some reason. Go over here to this customized table. Make sure that some of the columns have actually been added in. I don't know why this happens. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it doesn't like me. But every now and then this catches me, so just want to point that out. We'll create a schedule. And then it's a matter of just hitting next and publishing it out. I'm not actually going to hit the final button and send it out to send emails from this test audience. I don't want all those test accounts getting emails today. But it's really that simple. If you want more information on how to configure these destinations, there will be links in the show notes that we've got for you to be able to go in and see great tutorials on adding new destinations. There's a huge catalog in there. It's really quite simple. But that's not what we're going to cover today. So that's that use case.
Yeah, that'd be a great way to send out emails. So if your email provider could pick stuff up from an S3 bucket, you have your email address as your identity, throw it over there, they can grab it. Bob's your uncle, you're ready to go.
All right, let's do another demo.
Yeah, so this is that other side of the cookie. This is enriching your data, your first-party data that you already have, the data about your customers, enriching it with the information from the third-party data provider. So you already know that John Smith is your customer. You already know that they've told you what your household income is. But say you wanted to learn a little bit more information about John Smith so that you can tailor your marketing campaigns a little bit more effectively. You can also bring in data about your first-party customers to enrich it to do those tailored marketing programs.
So here's how this one works on this architecture slide. So again, step one, you got to be bringing in partner data. This time it's a little different because you're enriching partner data. The back and forth isn't going to be, here's a list of attributes I'd like. It's going to be, I'm going to send you a list of email addresses of my customers that I know. And I want you to run this list of email addresses through your system and bring back these other 15 data points that I don't know about my own customer and send them back to me. So I'm providing, or you are providing, that seed value to the data partner, and they're providing you additional bits and pieces that you didn't know. And then we can bring that data into an enrichment profile and actually add this to first-party audiences. So this is where we're expanding our knowledge about our known customers. You already know Rudy's in there and he likes cookies, but now you're going to find out all the other things about my finances, or because it's a banking demo I'm going to show you. You can find out extra bits and pieces that might be effective for your next marketing effort.
Are they a puppy or a cat person? Do they like coffee creamer? What their favorite bagel flavor is? All of that kind of data is available through partner data sources.
That's right. So let's see this one in action as well. This one I'm going to show you the schema real quick again. And this time, if I go to partner, this time I want to look at the enrichment data. You'll see that it is our standard XDM individual profile class. This is not prospect. This is standard first party class we're looking at. But we have added in some partner data. And if I go down here to this WeBank partner FSI, these are the data points that I said, hey, here's a list of email addresses. Please bring me these additional data points. And then this time, we're actually going to go and look in customers, not in prospects. So I'm going up to customers to look at. I am in profiles. I switched over to the browse. And I'm going to pick a namespace. In this one, I'm going to pick email address to start with. And let's see, if I pull up
Our friend Hillary here.
our friend Hillary, you can see Hillary is not one of the customers that we have any additional information on. So this is this partner enrichment section that we were looking for. However, they weren't on our list. They weren't in the partners database. We got nothing. So let's go see if we can find somebody that the partner had some information on. So I know this customer, Bobby Bank. I'm pretty sure he was on our list. We're going to pull up Bobby's profile.
Wow, it's almost like he was made to have a bank account.
You know, some people, their die is cast early. And so if we scroll down and look at the bottom of Bobby's profile, you can see that indeed, all of these partner enrichment attributes have been loaded in from a partner. So in addition to what we already knew about Bobby, we knew where he lived, his gender, what state. We've got a really good identity graph already set for him. We know other bits and pieces, but this provided a bunch of extra information. And now we can create audiences, first-party customer audiences, based on these bonus fields, based on these partner enrichment fields. So let's do that. It's going to look very similar to what we did before. I'm going to create an audience. I'm going to use the rule build view. And I want partner. You can sit there and click through and navigate all the way down, but if you know the names of the attributes you're looking for, the search is your best friend. Helps you navigate it, especially if I'm zoomed in for this demo, so the interface usually has a lot more real estate. You don't have to scroll as far, but I'm zoomed in so the folks in the back can see better. So it's a little compressed than what you'll see when you're back there. But we can go in here and run that same audience, if we're interested, of the folks that we did know. Yes, they had a mortgage, and no, personal investor. We'll refresh this. Few less this time, but we still have some. 1,300 profiles. That's not bad. And again, then once you, I'm not going to save this particular one, but once you, leave. Once you've created that audience, you can go in and activate it out to any of the other destinations as well.
Yeah, the great part about this is if you use Adobe Target or Adobe Journey Optimizer, you can take that audience and use it for website personalization as well. So if you did know what their favorite dessert was, maybe when they come to the bank's homepage, you can put a big muffin or a big chocolate chip cookie on the homepage when they visit.
Yeah, and if you're curious about all the different destinations in our catalog, you go over underneath connections and hit destinations. We'll take a look at all of them. And you can see some of the destinations are internal to Adobe to send it to other applications inside the Adobe ecosystem, and some are out to different third-party vendors that we work with. So, and they can also go to Azure and AWS, go out to flat file, send it back to your own data warehouse. Again, Adobe doesn't, for lack of a better word, is very cavalier. We don't care where you send the data. Wherever you want to send it, it's your data. That's cool. Send it wherever you want. We're not going to put restrictions on that. You just have to be able to tell us exactly where it needs to go and what fields we're mapping it to. But that's it. So to recap here, things I really want you to, we have a couple slides of takeaways. First set of takeaways I want you to remember are these 4 fundamental steps about working with partner data. You got to set up that partner identity. You got to configure that XDM schema. You got to make sure you assign that partner ID to it. Double check that the data labels are there. They're supposed to be auto-added, but it's always good to double check that the labels are there. If you have any additional policies because of the type of industry you work in, or there's other regulations or internal policies, you can add those governance labels there as well. And then keep that data fresh. How many days does it expire in? 25. That's awesome. You guys are listening.
So outside of the steps to enable partner data, there are 3 takeaways for today. Yes, really this time third-party cookies are going away, but don't panic. You got a little bit of time, but make sure you're on top of things. You're retooling your acquisition workflow so you are ready when they go away later this year. Also, Adobe will help you prepare. Adobe Experience Platform, as we just showed you, does have a plan for this using either partner data or first-party device IDs to give you a single source of truth for both your customers and your prospects, your known and your unknown. And then, of course, like we just talked about through our demos, partner data can fill the gaps. You still have, the first-party data is still the foundation. It is still the dinner and robust meal, but partner data is the dessert on top of it. Cool.
So here's a QR code that is all the session materials. We're going to show it again here at the very end on our final slide. Also, if you go to Adobe Experience League and search for S604, which was this session name, it'll take you to the page of that on Experience League that URL or QR code is taking you to, as well as the deck that you'll have access to as part of the Summit portal, because you are sitting in the room and it'll give you that information, also has this URL and QR code in it too. So if you don't manage to snap a shot real quick, don't panic. There'll be a couple different ways for you to get that. Experience League is a great resource. It's getting better all the time. So there's lots of great information out there. Some of the stuff that we put on the partner on our page today was links to additional videos that goes through those demos even in more depth. That you can go and follow along. So all the demos that I did, there's videos for each one of those, plus a bonus demo that we didn't cover today that's out there, as well as great information on first-party IDs as well.
And then we also have the Adobe Tech Blog if you want to get a peek under the covers of how Adobe Experience Platform and the rest of the Adobe stack works and is built. All of our engineers love to write blog posts about how they're approaching different problems in the industry. So I'd encourage you to take a look at any of these 3 resources when you get back to your desks tomorrow.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your time.
We'll see everybody outside.
Have a good day.